What is going on, guys? This is Alecus, the Galactic Guardian, reporting for duty today. Just doing some mental clarity, some healing, some breath work today. Um, just releasing a lot of old stagnant energies, really. And so, anyway, feeling good enough to make this video. I feel a little bit more clear on this one. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go into excuse me, gonna get into the slides here. We're gonna go over the new earth. We're gonna go over the new earth, and there's really about 12 different principles that we're actually gonna get into tonight on the call or this morning. All right, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do this. Where is it? All right. What just happened here? All right. So, what is the new earth? What is the new earth? Whatever. This is more or less a practice round two. I'm kind of a perfectionist, but anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. The higher self. And kind of, a little bit into my story as well. Um, all right. The higher self is really the omnipresent bird's eye view you, right? This is the part of you that has more wisdom. This is the part of you that already knows, right? The part of you outside of time and space. What's going on here? What is it doing? The video's lagging. I must be lagging. So, the video's lagging because I'm lagging. That's hilarious. If the video's lagging, it means I'm lagging. Because if I was not lagging, it wouldn't do that. It would be aligned, right? So anyway, all of us really spiritual people, we rely on alignment, and it really takes crossing your eyes and dotting your T's, or crossing your T's and dotting your I's. It takes crossing your eyes and it takes dotting your I's and crossing your T's to really be a servant of God. And I know a lot of other people, maybe my own projections, maybe my own reflections, but these people that are so perfectionist, and it's not even that we're perfect that we want to be good. It's because we don't want to misrepresent God. We don't want to misrepresent alignment. We don't want to misrepresent, the truth. We don't want to misrepresent the new earth. We don't want to misrepresent the new heaven. We don't want to misrepresent the Bible. We don't want to misrepresent the spiritual truth of the universe. We don't want to misrepresent it. And I'm definitely that way. I've had times where I'm breaking out of programs, where I'll open my throat chakra and I'll just say whatever I gotta say just to get it off my chest, just to get out of perfectionism. Right. And at the end of the day, guys, I'm coming into alignment. I'm doing a lot of healing, and I'm doing healing right now. So, what happens when you heal is you release programs and fears and beliefs that are blocking you from experiencing the truth of who you are. And so part of receiving the truth of who you are is accessing the higher self, right? And so part of that is healing trauma. Part of that, is releasing, right? But, Jesus said, leave no thought for tomorrow. What does that actually mean? What it really means is to release everything from the day before, right? And that was a conversation we just had in the house. But anyway, not to make it about me, because it's not really about me. It's really about the message. But as one of my friends said, is that one of my friends, a good mentors and brothers of God, what he said was, he said that I'm not the mess. He said it's not my message. I'm just a messenger. And it's true. It's not my message. I'm just a messenger. Right. And so I don't take credit for this stuff. Although I'll give myself credit enough to surrender to the truth, to where I can even share this information. Right. Because this isn't my ego that has all this information because I'm so smart. But it's the fact that I've been able to learn this wisdom, from lifetime to lifetime, and actually come in to share with you and actually learn how to tap into this internal source of all wisdom and knowledge. Right. That's called the higher self. Higher self is the bird's eye view. It's the you that's on top of the mountain. The you that's on top of the mountain, the higher self is you that's on top of the mountain, And the human self is you in the valley, wondering how to climb. And how do I climb up that mountain? You're not even sure. But guess what? There's a party that already knows. That's the higher self, right? Higher self already knows when you get to the higher self, there is no guessing, there is the truth. And you have this ability, right, to just get the right information, the right intelligence. You're being guided every single moment, right? You're being guided, through the path, divine guidance, right? Divine guidance. And that's what the higher self is, guys, as I'm drinking the smoothie. Yeah, the higher self, guys. The third eye. What is the third eye? I mean, it's not the same as the higher self, but it's in the same category. It's one of the words that are nearby the other words. Okay, the higher self. Really exciting stuff, higher self. Two, what we're gonna get into is future selves. All right, so future selves. And for example, I feel that I've been being guided by my own future selves for quite some time now. Now, a spirit guide is, there's angel spirit guides, there's future selves, right? There's guardian angels, there's ancestors, there's all kinds of different guides. One of them being future selves, right? One of them being future selves. And so, what is your future self anyway, right? And so, there's different timelines, there's different parallel universes, there's different potentials. With that being said, and this is more of a deeper concept, future selves, and we'll certainly get into it. For those of you who want to know, and future selves is something that you can really use. It's something that you can use to your advantage as far as decision making. It's really when it comes down to decision making, not to be perfect, but to know like when there's certain things that you want to do, and there's certain things that you need to do, or if you want to simplify your life or clarify certain things, future self is going to be one of those things you're going to learn how to access. Learn how to access something that I learned from Dr. Bruce Gold, from one of the parallel universe, teachers on Gaia, right? And there's all kinds of teachers that I've learned from, and that's one of them. One of the books, Future Selves, it's the third eye. It's like your third eye. When and one of the other topics is parallel universes. And parallel universes goes into accordance, is the same as future selves, or is part of the same category. It's part of the same category. Parallel universes and also the future selves. And so, what do I mean by that? How is the parallel universe connected with the future self? Well, realize, when it comes to the parallel universe is a potential in the quantum field. All right. And so, in this moment, all possibilities exist. And so, when we're in this moment, we are led to the next moment. And so, how do you switch parallel universes? You simply choose a different thought. And so, one of the things that I talk about, and that I'm learning, and that is the truth, I should say, excuse me, is when you speak your I ams, you can say I am clean, and you're correct. You can say I am dirty. You could say I am healthy. You could say I am unhealthy. You could say I am strong. I am weak. Whatever you're saying is a parallel universe. And so, in letting go, part of it, this is being in the higher self, is letting go of your past identity, letting go of who you think you are based off your past experiences, and choosing the present moment and creating the reality, that you choose, that you're vibrating, the thought that you're actually on. Parallel universe. The parallel universe is nothing more than another affirmation, right? In the teachings of, and there's teachings in success books and goals. They talk about goals and, writing down affirmations. Is when you change your goal, you enter a different parallel universe. And when I first learned this, the story was, I was in my car, I was sleeping in my car, for probably 3-6 months or whatever it was, and I was changing my mind on, where am I going to live? Where's my home? Where's my home? And I was like, I could live in this city, I could live in that city. And I was driving back and forth from city to city. And what I realized was, when I sat still, I sat there in my car, and I was like, I completely transmitted and focused on one phrase, one affirmation, and I energized one timeline. And when I energized this timeline, I could feel the feeling of what? Of my future self that was living in that exact house, that was living in that exact apartment, right? And then was driving that exact car. I was experiencing that future self without moving at all, without leaving the present moment, without leaving my meditation. I was transmitting and feeling the feeling of the affirmation, having that visualization, right? And so that's what I was doing. And so, but then I realized, okay, parallel universes. Now, what if I change the goal? And then I changed the goal, said, okay, instead of that city, I'm gonna go live in this city. And so what I was doing was, I was feeling my timelines. I was feeling my timelines and feeling which one resonated most with me. Because I wanted to make the most aligned choice. I wanted to be in alignment with God. I want to do what God wants me to do. I want to be in alignment with higher self, with future self, whatever it is. And this is how I learned about parallel universes. This is how I learned about future selves, is from my own experience. And also, of course, some of the books that I read and videos that I watched and study this stuff, but gave me the and this is where I, began to apply it in my actual life. But is parallel universes and future selves. And so each future self is a parallel universe. There is a parallel universe where you make this choice. There's a parallel universe where you make this choice. The parallel universe where you make this choice. And one of the things that I realized was celibacy is the highest timeline. It's the highest timeline universe. And there are other universes. You can be in the universe where you're not doing that. You're doing other things that are not necessarily as divine. And the funny thing is, right? And I've experienced this. And so, we're not judging and we're not saying what's right and what's wrong necessarily, but we're just, identifying the situation here. There's a timeline where you eat this diet. There's a timeline where you eat this diet. There's a timeline where you meditate. There's a timeline where you don't. There's a timeline where you work out every day. There's a timeline when you work out, when you feel like it, right? There's a timeline when you sleep 8 hours a day, and when you sleep 6 hours a day, when you sleep 4 hours a day. And most people are so in a hurry, they're so busy that they're not being present. And I realize this is one of the programs that I'm actually healing, that I'm in the process of healing myself. It's because, us, over whatever you would call it, I would call it masculine men are very competitive and, whatever. They're thinking about being busy. And this is partly projected and filtered because this is my own trauma too. But the point is like when you're busy, you're not being present because you're in a hurry to get somewhere. And so when you're not in a hurry, you can be present and you can experience and feel what is the choice, because you're not missing out on anything. So there's so many FOMO programs in this matrix. I got to make more money faster because I'm going to miss out because I'm comparing myself to the next person, right? And so that's one of the things that I've been experiencing, and that's one of the things on my journey. You may experience that too. So parallel universes and future selves, right? So you can pick, what? How do I be my highest self? How do I be my highest self? How do I choose? What is my future self saying to me? Is this my ego or is this my higher self? Is this just a program from the past that's not even me, or is this really my truest divine calling? And so it takes surrender and it takes death for a rebirth. It takes death for rebirth, guys. And so parallel universe and future selves. Parallel universe and future selves, right? Right, parallel universe and future self. And this is stuff that's from what I would call the Book of Life. The Book of Life, the Akashic records. This is stuff that I've received from the ether. The stuff that I've received, from my higher self. It's something that I received from my higher self, and realizing and learning that, look, you are not actually the human. You are the higher self. You are the higher self experiencing the human. And we have a really good, analogy, a slide coming up soon on that, is you are not the human. You are the higher self experiencing the human. And so when you realize that you're the higher self experiencing the human, it can ease off the pressure that you may be putting on yourself. You may not take things so seriously, knowing that it doesn't really matter what happens too much. You don't got to take it too seriously because, you're already in the higher self. You already are the higher self. Okay, so when you let go of identification with form, let go of identification with the fact that you're a human being, and say, look, I'm in the higher self. I am the higher self, and I'm experiencing the human. Not, I'm a human that's experiencing the higher self, but no, you're the higher self experiencing the human. And so, whenever we're in 3D or we're unconscious or we're lost, we're disconnected from God, right? And a lot of times it's from trauma, it's from suffering, it's from random programming and distractions and peer pressure and conformity and all these things, and when, when we're in the human, we're seeking the higher self. I need to higher self, please help, right? But when you're in the higher self, when you're in the higher self, and you can use the human, you can utilize your mind and your body to create your reality, right? And then that's really what it comes down to. So the fourth one is yoga, right? Yoga. What is the importance of yoga? When I started learning about yoga, right? When I started learning about yoga, I realized that, as I was going down this path and connected with my higher self, there was some type of resistance. in my body. And I was going after, I was doing my affirmations, learning the law of attraction, manifestation. Somewhere along the line, I was forcing things. I was resisting, and I wasn't really relaxing. I wasn't really staying present. And I realized yoga can really help us, release emotions that are trapped in the body. Yoga can help us release emotions that are trapped in the body and help us, feel how we really feel. And when we release and break out of whatever resistance we have, it helps us become who we really are, right? It helps us become who we really are. And that's the power of yoga, power of the body. And this is something that I am, how do I say this is yoga is oh, so a story about this, a story about yoga as well is that I've used this yoga is a lot of times it's a preset. So it's like I would say it's like peanut butter and jelly, right? And that's what I was talking about yoga, and I don't eat peanut butter and jelly, but yoga and meditation are like peanut butter and jelly. You can do yoga without meditation, and that's good, right? And you can do meditation without yoga, and that's good. But when you put them both together, oh, it's so good. Yoga and meditation together are really good. Yoga and meditation together are really good because yoga is a form of meditation, right? Yoga basically is a meditation. You're oxygenizing the cells in your body, allowing yourself to feel, and it's basically an ego death. Like if you ever want to suicide yourself, do yoga, right? Do a yoga session and use your deep breaths to, they call it the ego eradicator, right? They call it the ego eradicator. And so you're doing the breath work exercise and your ego just dies because your spirit takes over your body. And so you use your breath to let your spirit take over your body, and that is what a death is. So you don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to be anxious. You don't have to, be sad. You just got to do some breath work, right? You really just got to use your breath because guys, breath is life. Breath is thought. The initial creation of the universe is breath, right? God breathed the universe into existence, right? And Family Guy made a joke. Family Guy made a joke about this, by the way. If you guys ever watch Family Guy, I used to watch it as a kid. Is that God farted the universe into existence? It's kind of not the best joke, but the point is like, why is that? But think about it, right? The point is like it came from God, and Family Guy is weird. It makes everything weird, but pretend it's not so weird and corny, and it's like, okay, he breathed it into existence. That's basically what I was saying. That was really weird. But yoga, right? Yoga, breathwork, oxygenizing the cells, right? So, oxygenizing the cells. That's what yoga does. It oxygenizes the cells in your body. It creates mental clarity. And what it really does is yoga helps you connect with the higher self. It helps you stay in the higher self. It helps you use the breath, right, to create your reality, right? It helps you use the breath because if you can stay present enough to breathe your next breath, right, you can be present enough to think your next thought. You can be present enough to be aware and have omnipresence, right, in the fact that you are creating the next action step in your life. That's what yoga is for. All right, number 5 is meditation, right? So what actually is meditation? Meditation is the art of absorbing yourself fully into the present moment. Meditation is art in observing yourself fully into the present moment, right? So meditation is a way that, we're sitting there. The point of meditation is to sit there and observe your thoughts without reaction, observe the thoughts without identification. And what you're doing is you're letting go of the analytical mind. Because you might have thoughts that are all over the place, right? You might be overthinking, you might be analysis paralysis, you might have so many ideas, you might be so creative that you don't know how to organize your thoughts into an actualized, strategic game plan on what you're actually going to do, right? So because you saw these thoughts, you don't know what to do with it, right? So what meditation does is it helps us release anything random in our field, helps us release any random thoughts in our field, any beliefs. And what it does is the goal of meditation is to, realize there's really 3 steps. There's you, the human, right? There's the 0 point, and then there's the higher self, right? So there's -1, there's 0, and there's +1, right? And so what you want to do is you want to get to the point that you become nothing. You're surrendering everything in the meditation, trusting that your higher self is going to give you, right? Whatever you believe, maybe you say it's the spirit guides, angels, spirit guides, higher self. Use whatever word works for you. But What you're doing is you're trusting that you're going to get the right thought one thing at a time. And so the goal here isn't to figure out the entire universe necessarily, but it's really to simplify, what you're looking for is already inside you. And so, you don't got to be depressed. You don't got to be anxious. You don't got to be confused. You just got to surrender. So what do you guys surrender? What do you mean? How do I surrender? I have bills to pay. I have a family to take care of. I got a meal to eat. I got to work out in the morning. I got to get to work. I got to get to church. I got to get to my job. I got business calls. I got social media. I don't got time to meditate. And this is what everyone says. This is what everyone thinks. I don't got time to meditate. How do you have time to meditate? That's such a waste of time, right? Meditation is letting go of time, because when you let go of the time-based self and the beliefs you're holding onto, right, and the identification of who you think you're supposed to be, right? Because a lot of times you get stressed, right? You get anxious because you have so many things you have to do, especially as a business owner, especially as someone that has responsibility, right? You have so many things to do that sometimes you feel like you just don't have enough time. Well, I don't have enough time to do anything. I just got to save myself time. And you get into this pattern of like, I got to overwork. And so what is meditation? Meditation is letting go of everything that you're holding on to, realizing that you ultimately can only do one thing at a time anyway. And if you're partially doing what you're doing now with in the back of your mind, thinking about what you just did or what you're going to do next, you're filtering the present moment and you're actually not being present. And so meditation helps us be present. Meditation helps us, do one thing at a time. Meditation helps us become fully immersed in what we're actually doing. Meditation helps us become fully immersed in what we're actually doing, right? Meditation helps us become fully immersed in what we're doing. And so this helps us create from a place of a channeled flow state. It helps us create clearly, right? And so that's the power of meditation, right? That meditation it helps us be present. It helps us find our heart space. It helps us find the higher self. It helps us find the divine guidance. And what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to find that inner voice. And, you separate the idea of, the ego is like, wanting to hurry you up. Right? The ego is trying to speed you up. I got to hurry up. This guy's making more money than me. I got to go now. And so sometimes you got to really slow your breath to slow your thoughts. When you can slow your breath to slow your thoughts, what's going to happen is you're in control of yourself, right? You're in control of yourself. And so, one of the quotes that I like to use is, one of my friends and mentors, by the way, that, taught me about meditation and plant medicine ceremonies and, really just being present, right? Because in one of my times, I was calling this guy and I was like, dude, like my mind is going fast. All these creative ideas are coming out of me, and I'm just getting all these thoughts and I just can't slow down. He said, hey, slow your words. And I was like, huh? And so when I slowed my words, my thoughts slowed down. And then I slowed my breath down. And now I said, okay, I'm in control of myself. Is it about speed? Maybe it is about speed. But what if it's not? What if speed is a time-based illusion? Because if you're always in a hurry, you're always going to be in a hurry, right? But if you're always in the present moment, you're always going to be in the present moment. If you're always present, you're always going to be present. But if you're always in a hurry, you're always going to be in a hurry. And you'll never get there because you're always in a hurry to get there. So where are you going, right? And that's the irony, okay? And so what we want to find is that place we're looking for. We think that place we're looking for is in the future. We think what that place you're looking for is in the goal. Think that the place you're looking for, is the thing we're manifesting. The place you're looking for is in the partner. The place you're looking for is in the money. The place you're looking for is in the success. But really the place you're looking for is our own higher self. We're looking for our own connection with source energy. We're looking for our own connection with the present moment. That's really what we're looking for. It ain't the goal. It ain't the future. It's actually the present moment. And so how can we find the present moment? All right, so you want to be in that creative flow state, divine flow. I like to call it divine flow. You want to be in that flow state of you're not just creating by yourself, but you have your angels by your side. Because yes, you have angels. Everyone has angels and they're here. And you can access the angels if you call out to them. If you can be on that frequency and if you can really initiate, if you can become aware that you have angels, you can be with your angels. And they can really help you. And they're dropping things, and your angels are dropping information into your ears anyway. Even if you're not even aware it's happening, it's still happening, right? So meditation, it's being present. It's being present, it's being connected with yourself, and knowing the truth in the moment, knowing the truth. You ever get those thoughts where you're like, don't do that, don't do that, and you pretend you don't hear it, and you said, I'm just gonna do this anyway, and then something bad usually happens because of it, right? So that's what happens. And so, you ever heard that analogy? Like, you have the demon in one ear and the angel in the other. Do this bad thing or do this good thing. And which voice do you listen to? Right? Do I use the dark side or use the light side? Right? Which one am I going to choose? Right? Which one am I going to choose? And so, which voice in your head are you listening to? Right? That's what it is. Right? So that's meditation, guys. Meditation. And things about meditation is not a one-time thing, but it's a tool you can use. Right? It's a tool you can use. You can always connect to the present moment. But I will say, just be ready. It's going to take an ego death. But it's not a one-time thing. It's a process. It's a process of realizing and remembering to trust yourself and to listen to yourself. So trust yourself and to listen to yourself and, to take care of yourself, because every moment is your teacher so long as you're in it, right? We become what we repeatedly do. And so, it's not about doing something once. It's about doing it, as part of your lifestyle. And so this becomes a part of your lifestyle of going inside for your own inner guidance and really sitting there with yourself. Meditation is really feeling out these other realms, right? So number 6 is going to be affirmation, right? Affirmation. So one thing about using affirmation with meditation, right? One thing about using affirmation with meditation is realizing that, when you're in the present moment, all possibilities exist, right? So in the 0 point field, what we have is, excuse me, when you're in the 0 point field, all possibilities exist. And so meditation really makes you aware of how powerful your words are, because he who knows when to stop is free to go on. He who knows when to stop is free to go on. And so when you're sitting there with yourself in silence, you're sitting there with your breath, you're sitting there in the meditation, what you're realizing is you don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to respond to a text. You don't have to respond to a call. You're not missing out on anything, because you don't need the call. You don't need the text. You don't need to post on social media, right? You may think you have to for your business or to pay your bill or to achieve your dream. But really, the main goal isn't to achieve your dream. The main goal isn't to build your business. The main goal isn't to post on social media. The main goal isn't to respond to the text. The main goal isn't to respond to the call. The main goal is to stay connected with yourself, to stay connected, to be in omnipresence, to be with your higher self, to feel guided and aligned with what you're doing, right? Because when you are aligned and empowered, you create in the outer world alignment and empowerment, right? And so a lot of times we're doing things in a rush, we're forcing things, or we have, decision fatigue. We have, I could do this or I could do this, and we don't know which one we're going to do. And so when they're in this time like this is when we realize how powerful affirmations are. Because if I'm creating an affirmation, then what's going to happen? I'm going to be creating something. But if we're just going about our day, we're talking about this, we're oversharing about this, we're explaining this, and we're being vulnerable about this, and we're having conversations about random things at random times, we have unintegrated ideas that don't really have the actual, I don't know if that makes sense, but affirmation, right? You're creating something. So in the 0 point, you're saying, all possibilities exist. But in affirmation, you're saying, I'm gonna create this possibility. Does that make sense? Yoga is, okay, I'm gonna release resistance in my body. Meditation is, okay, I'm gonna create this. I'm gonna be in the present moment. Affirmation is, I'm gonna choose this reality. I'm gonna choose this thought, right? And so watch your words. Because a lot of times, your words, guys, your words can work for you or your words can work against you. So do you want them to work for you or you want them to work against you? So you want to be very careful what you say, what you share what with. You got to be careful what you share, who you share what with, and what you say. Not even about who you share what with, but it's not even that. It's really just what you're speaking of. because it's going to come back to you. So if something just keeps happening, and you ever have that where something just keeps happening and you just can't stop it from happening, right? I'm gonna take a smoothie here. I gotta get my water too. We're still setting up the office, so we don't even have everything set up, but I wanted to make this. Right? Reincarnation, right? Reincarnation. Okay. Desmond in the Animus. We have Desmond in the Animus, and then we have Assassin's Creed, we have the Origins, and we have Valhalla. So what does that actually mean? It's realizing it's part of the higher self. It's realizing that you aren't actually the Ezio Auditore in Rome. You aren't actually the Viking. You aren't actually the guy in Egypt. You aren't actually the guy in, the Revolutionary War. You're actually the guy on the other. You're actually the guy on the other side, experiencing a memory of your lives. And so, one thing I love about Assassin's Creed, it's showing that you're not that life, you're not that life, and you're not that life. And so you're not this life. There's actually another version of you on the other side that's really more of who you really are. And you're going through the memories of this human life, right, to activate codes in your soul, right, and to remember things, right? And that's why you're here right now, and so there's a part of you on the other side already. There's a part of you on the other side already that's been there the whole time. And so you can go into the higher self, get the knowledge, get the wisdom, and then you can come into this life and use it, right? And you can realize that you have other lives you have wisdom from as well, right? And so there's another part of you that's in all of those lives because you're multidimensional existence. From the point of view, like if you're a Desmond, you can choose which game you're going to play. You can choose which memory you're going to go into. And so when you go within inside yourself in a meditation, you can become Desmond. You can become Desmond and say, look, I'm going to go into this parallel life. I'm going to go into this parallel life. I'm going to go into the memory of that lifetime. I'm going to go into the memory, right? And you're going to use your past reference experiences to filter and have context for your own perception of what this even means in your life, right? Because when you're in the Desmond, you can choose which memory you're going to go into. You're going to choose which memory that you're going to go into. And so which memory are you going to choose? Which memory are you going to choose? Right? And so you have the information. You have the wisdom. That's the point. The point is you have the information, you have the wisdom, and you do have the information. So if you want to find the information, you can get it. And you can read a lot in the book. The book is going to help activate you, right? Reading a book is going to help activate you. Listening to a YouTube video is going to activate you. Listening to an audiobook and they activate you. And to ultimately go within, connect with your own spirit that has the information, right? Because within energy contains information. It's not just a word that's being spoken. There's a pocket of information that goes within that, right? So that's reincarnation. Reincarnation is realizing is not actually linear. It's you go. It's all different from the higher point of view. From the higher point of view, it's not this first, this second, this third. It's realizing that you are the higher self. And so when you're the higher self, it's like, which memory am I going to choose? 2100, 2050, and 2000 and 1950 are all happening at the same time. It's not linear. It's not past, present, future. It's this memory, or this memory. And so just as easily as you can remember your past when you're in the higher self, you can also remember your future. Not only can you remember your future, you can remember your past lives. You can also remember your future lives. When you're in the higher self, you can remember whatever you want because it's already there. It's already in the higher self the whole time. And so when you're in the human, you have memories of your human life in this life. But when you go into the higher self, you can remember your future life, your future self. You can remember your future lives. You can remember your past lives. You can remember any life you want. You can remember things because why? You are a multidimensional being having a temporary human experience. And your multidimensionality expresses across the cosmos. In the creation of the universe, everything is one. Everything is one. When God created the universe, there was oneness, right? So everything comes to that oneness. Everything that is connected energetically, everything that was connected physically at one time is still connected energetically, right? So if you shake someone's hand, you always will be able to remember what that person's hands feel like. And that's what we used to say, like, oh, this, if you ever get a chance to shake a millionaire's hand, right? You shake a millionaire's hand, what? Now you have millionaire energy on you. And this is what we used to do. When I was younger, we would do this, and it makes a lot of sense. We go to one of those events. These people that are making a lot of money, they're there, and what would we do? We would get the energy of the event, and we would just not shower. I'm not going to shower. I got millionaire energy on me. I'm not even going to shower because I'm going to use this energy to create. Why would I shower, right? And so there's energy rubs off, right? And so energy rubs off, and that's really what it comes down to. And so you can tap into your own energy, right? And get this information from yourself. And there's people that teach stuff like this, and there's lessons and stuff like this, and that's really what it comes down to. So realizing you're Desmond. You're not actually the Assassin's Creed character. You're Desmond experiencing the character, right? And so now you have the power, because you can fail, you can mess up, you can go through lessons, and you can just say, you know what? Oh, I got to go do that memory again. And so you're here experiencing a sequence of memories. And there's lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. Earth is a spiritual school, right? And there are lessons and there are grades. And when you pass one grade, you get to the next grade. When you pass one lesson, you get to the next lesson. And there's a sequence of events: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In 3D linear reality, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And you can go back. I mean, there's no limits to this, right? And that's the point. Like, you can go back to the past, you can go to the future, whatever it is. You can go to the past, you can go to the future, because why? It's all here in this present moment. And so one of the things of transcending time and space, going into the yoga meditation is, what's the point of yoga? What's the point of meditation? It's just when you're in the higher self, right? When you're in the higher self, you can access the future selves. You can access, the parallel universe. And when the future self, to really think about future self, not even future selves, because it's really not about complicating all the quantum possibilities of who you can become, but really just becoming who you really are, right? And so, you can get as deep as you want to when it comes to that if you choose. But parallel universes is realizing that, you can go into anything you want at any time you want, and it's already inside you. And nothing can stop you from experiencing this other than your own belief. Because if you're in the human and your belief is, this isn't real, that's not going to work, that's going to block you from experiencing this. And so what you got to do is you got to use your tongue. And this is how I started manifesting the experiences, tapping into timelines of, past lives, future selves, past selves, whatever, is simply by affirmation. It's really simple as, oh, you know what? My ego doesn't like to meditate. So, I already know that means I have unconscious thoughts. I'm not really feeling like meditation. I don't have the time. That's not even you. That's just a program. Well, and from one point of view, it is you, but it's really not the real you. It's just a program. Say, oh, I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to do yoga. And you're not being present. And so if you can sit there with yourself and say, I'm going to just do it. I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to let my ego have control of me. I'm not going to listen to, that voice in my head that's stopping me. I'm not going to listen to the intrusive thoughts anymore. I'm not going to listen to the thoughts that want to make me depressed anymore, because those aren't you anyway. Those are lower dimensional entities, right, in the dark demonic shadow realms. They're talking to you, and it's not even who you are anyway. And so don't believe your thoughts when you're in a low vibration. Don't believe your thoughts when you're down. Don't believe your thoughts when you're depressed, because you just got to raise your frequency. And so a lot of times, what's the fastest way to cure depression? You got to drink water. You got to drink smoothies. You got to go to nature. You got to state change. You got to go exercise. Hit the gym, like do something to get your blood flowing. You get the oxygen going, right? And so that's what I love here about yoga. If you can really get yoga in your routine, you're gonna oxygenate the cells in your body, and you're gonna get brain. Your brain is gonna have the right information because you're gonna just connect with your higher self. And that's really the point. You want to connect with your higher self and realize that what can stop us from being connected with higher self. And so higher self is like connecting with God. It's like higher self is basically the same thing as source energy, right? Higher self is source energy. Higher self is divine guidance. Higher self is infinite intelligence. Some people call it the ether, the divine matrix, whatever you want to call it. It's really the same thing, the higher self. And so when karma, right? Part of this is realizing, the path of karma. When you're taking the path of ascension, you're also going to be going through karmic lessons, right? You're also going to be going through karmic lessons. So what does that actually mean? What does that mean? The universe isn't here to get you. The universe isn't against you, but from the higher point of view, right? Desmond says, look, I'm going to go into this life in Egypt. And in the beginning of my life, I'm going to do this, this, this. It's going to teach me these lessons. I'm going to learn these lessons. It's going to help evolve me. It's going to help evolve my soul. And by, later in my life, I'm going to have all these lessons. Okay. And so no one's against you. No one's against you. It's not your fate. You're not cursed. It's just part of the process. And so really, if you're going through something, or if you ever go through something, this gives you a lot more context of realizing that, there is light on the other side. You will experience light. You will experience good things, even if things are bad right now, even if things were bad, right? And it's realizing that, people say God's plan. People say, if God is real, then why do bad things happen? It's because nothing is really good or bad. That's a really shallow and surface level point of view. Nothing really is good or bad. It's just that there are different experiences, and from the higher self, right? They're lessons. You have a sequence of memories that you're going through to experience to help evolve and perfect your soul. And so karma usually comes from revenge, right? Karma is when someone offends you and you want to offend them back. Someone does you wrong and you want to do them wrong back, right? Karma is, what someone does to you is their karma, but how you respond to it is your karma. So a lot of times the irony of this is one of the things that can help you with karma is actually yoga and meditation and affirmation. And the reason why is because you can become aware of yourself, become aware of your thoughts, you become aware of your feelings, and you can help stay in line with your higher self and your path, and so that you don't attract experiences that are going to make you, judge yourself or make you want to react to people. When you're healthy and when you're doing yoga, you're doing your meditation, whatever, you're not going to be causing harm to others when you're connected with source energy. It's only when we disconnect from source energy that we do harm to others. So as long as you're connected with source energy, we're not going to be doing harm to anyone. But it's when someone you love or someone close to you, or sometimes just anyone, hurts your feelings or says something and you take it personally, now you're going to react unconsciously. You're going to create sin. You're going to hurt someone. You're going to fight someone. I got to go get them back. And it's really just a pattern. It's not actually who you really are. And so you don't have to do that. You don't have to act that way. You can, and the thing is, you don't have to face your karma physically. Okay. You don't have to go apologize to everyone you ever did wrong. You don't have to go make all your wrongs right necessarily. You may want to when you feel it's time, but you don't have to, because really you just got to forgive yourself. You really just have to heal yourself. And, everything that you did wrong, one of my, spiritual mentors, good friends and brothers said is that when you do it with love, you'll never be sorry. And so if you do things from love, you'll never be sorry again. And so the only reason that we're sorry, one thing I realized as part of my process on this human planet as well is that when you do things unconsciously, and you may live with regret. You may have regret. You may be, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? And the only reason we did that is because we were not aware of what we were doing. And the only reason we're not aware of what we're doing is because we were unconsciously living our experience. And so if we can live our life in a way where we are constantly creating our days, we are constantly creating our weeks, we are doing what we choose to do, not what we have to do, not what we think we have to do, not what we think we're supposed to do, right? Or whatever it is. Right. And there's other things that go into this, right? Such as survival consciousness and, being in a hurry. There's all kinds of things we can get into, and there's more stuff, but we're not gonna get too much into that right now. But in ascension, so what actually is ascension? Ascension is, what they would call ascension is true self. You have the true self and you have the conditioned self. And this is a concept from Samadhi, right? Which is a documentary, is that ascension is realizing that you have the true self and you have the conditioned self. You have Desmond and you have Ezio. Okay, so it's what you're doing is you're not seeing yourself as Ezio. You're seeing yourself as Desmond, and you're saying, how can I create Ezio to really represent who I am? Right? Instead of saying, okay, Ezio's who I am, say, look, I'm actually Desmond. And Ezio, you know what? Based off where Ezio is right now, my journey, it's early in my life, or it's in a learning lesson in my character development journey. So it's not bad. The world's not against you. It's not evil. It's just that, oh, okay, I'm learning this lesson. So, and then you get to this point where you realize that when you really start connecting with your future self, start connecting with your future selves, you really see context of why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. You really why you're getting those lessons. You really start to realize that there's deeper reasons to it, why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and sometimes you're just sent on a path from God, and sometimes God don't send you down the most direct aligned path because sometimes you have to learn, how this works. So you sometimes making mistakes is part of learning how this works anyway, right? If I didn't start making mistakes along my journey, if I didn't start, losing things that I had, or identifying with things that I created, or thinking that I was all the money that I created, or thinking that I was the fame that I had, or thinking that I was the recognition I was receiving, right? If I wasn't identified with those experiences, and if I didn't suffer from losing things that were connected with that identity, then I never would have, been started getting into meditation. Because what really started getting me deeper into meditation was feeling emotions of, guilt. Like, do I really deserve this money? Do I really deserve to be successful? I started feeling guilt. I started feeling like, do I really deserve this? Did I scam people? Did I lie to people? Are people going to hate me if I have money? And I started to feel a lot of guilt. And I started to feel a little bit of shame. Like, did I lie to people? And not that I did or didn't, but I started to feel it. It was deep in my unconscious beliefs, from my childhood. And so I started getting into childhood, healing and stuff like that, meditation and so on. And and so once I started meditating, then I started healing. And once I started healing, now I started connecting with the higher self. And the higher self, connected to spirit guides. Now I'm being taken down this path. Now I was being taken down this path, and to really start experiencing this stuff. Now I started learning about Ezio. I started becoming Ezio, and then realizing, that you got it. You're creating Desmond, right? So anyway, true self, conditioned self. That's what it is. So ascension is realizing you're merging the two. You're really just merging the two. You're on this path. Okay, for example, you're Desmond, right? But now you're playing Ezio in Assassin's Creed, and now your job is to ascension. What is to complete your mission on Earth? Your job is to complete your life purpose. Your job is to complete the mission. And so you have missions, right? You have mission. You have sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have different missions that you can go on. You have side missions, right? You can free roam. You can say, "Nah, I'm good. I'm not going to take that mission." You have free will. God gave you free will, right? So at the end of the day, right, when you're on this path of ascension, you start to say, I don't even want free will anymore. But you do have it. You can choose. It's your choice, right? It's your choice. And so God says you have free will. And people say, if God is real, then why do bad things happen? Okay, it's because you do have free will. And people go against God. People go against God. Why do people go against God? Right? And they shouldn't go against God. And my goal is to, put these messages out there to, help people remember the truth. Because this is something that I did not come up with. This is not something that I invented. This is something that already is the truth. And you will remember this because there's a part of you that already knows this too. And when you connect with that, you'll remember. And sometimes it takes getting access to steps to remember that this actually is the truth, right? So the Akashic Records is the book of life, right? And so, when I was part of my journey, and I was in the process of realizing I was getting into these meditations more and more, was that I started to tap into what's called the Akashic Records. I was doing past life regressions. I was connected with spirit guides. I was doing meditations. I was doing all these things, and then I started learning about the Akashic Records. And so, what was I doing when I was connected with the Akashic Records? Realizing that there is a book of, just as there is a library, and there's a library in your local town, there's a library in your local city, right? There's also a library in the metaphysical, how do you say, the ethers of the universe, or however you want to call this. There is a metaphysical book in the other side that you can read, that you already know. And so you realize that who you really are is Desmond. You can find Desmond, and you can find your other lives, and you can find the chapters, you can find the sequence, and you can learn the lessons from your other lives and put them in this life, right? And that's something you can do. Akashic Records, the book of life, right? And so ego death, right? And this goes in alignment with what I was saying before, is that it's letting go of the conditioned self. And a lot of times It's letting go of the conditioned self to connect to the true self, so that you can make the conditioned self acts like the true self. And so the ego death is, you have attachments to people in your life. You have agreements that you're making with people, and you have entanglements. You have agreements you've made with people, entanglements with people. People expect you to do things. People expect you to act a certain way. Oh, you said yes to this last time. Oh, come out and drink with us. Remember you did it last time. And part of you's like, I don't know if that's a good idea, but you're like, yeah, I'll go anyway. Right. That's really what the ego does. It's just the ego was familiarity. And so as humans, our human self is always repeating patterns. Our human self is always continuing what we already did before. And so it's like it's this process of shedding away what's not really us, that's not really authentically us anymore, that's not really resonating anymore, and is finding the alignment with who we really are. And that's really what that is. And so the ego death is, especially a lot of times, people come to God, people come to meditation, and this is what happened to me too, is when I felt that I was lost, I started to seek the truth. When I started, was starting to be confused, I was looking for clarity, right? When I was starting to feel pain, I wanted deliverance from the pain. I didn't want the pain anymore. And so I said, how can I get rid of this pain? I don't want the pain. I don't want the pain anymore. So how can I, if I'm suffering, how can I surrender? So I don't want to suffer anymore, right? And so the ego death is it's just coming to a higher, higher point of view. And they talk about this, and there's movies, and one of the movies I saw, and there's movies that are about this too, and it's true. It's really true that there's a time-based self, and then there is the omnipresent you, right? So omnipresent you, always going into the omnipresence, go into the animus, right? They always say, Desmond, come back to the animus. Like if you're messing up, right? You're playing Ezio, you're in Assassin's Creed, you're messing up. It's okay to mess up. You're human, right? But then it's like if it's getting out of hand, or sometimes that's when the universe calls you. That's when God calls you, hey, come back. Come back to source. Come back to center. Come back to the animus. Okay, because you're out of control right now. All right. And so the point is, you want to be in alignment with the path. You want to be in alignment with your journey. You want to be in alignment with the lesson you need to learn right now. And realize when you pass this level, you'll get to the next level. When you pass the level that you're on, you'll get to the next level. When you master steps you're on, you'll get to the next step. When you go as far as you can see, then you'll see further. So you got to identify what's the next step. Identify, what step you're on. You got to identify, how do I pass this test? What test do I got to pass? So I got to get to the next test. I got to get to the next lesson. I got to get to the next chapter. If I'm on chapter 1, I got to get to chapter 2. If I'm on chapter 2, I got to get to chapter 3. If I'm on chapter 4, I got to get to chapter 5. Right? And if there's 20 chapters, I can't skip to 20. I mean, I might want to peek at that, but I can't really necessarily imagine what that is. Maybe I can, but I got to do the step I'm on right now. I can't skip to the future. I gotta be where I am. And I can look at the whole thing. I can look at the outline, perhaps, but you gotta still, do what you're doing now. So that's reincarnation. 10, Akashic Records, Book of Life. As well. 11, ego death, we went over. 12 is releasing emotions, right? Releasing emotions. This is where the ego death comes into play. Okay, it's because what happens is, especially with pain, especially with trauma, is that we have emotions in our body. And this is what yoga is for. This is what fasting is for. And, nature, a lot of things can help with this, meditation as well. We have emotions in our body, and we have programs that are connected to those emotions. We have beliefs in our mind that are connected to the emotions in our body. And so when we can break the emotion, we're releasing the emotion, what's happening is we're freeing ourselves from that program. For example, every time I do this happens. And it's like when you get out of shape, when you get all stressed out, you get anxious about something, it's because something's triggering you. So if something's triggering you, it's because there's something inside you. There's something inside you that has been causing pain for so long. And the irony is, the worse it gets, the worse it gets. And this is where the hard part, but also it can make things easy as well. And this is the paradox: is the easier it gets, the easier it gets. And so when you're going down the path, you're in alignment, everything's flowing. But when you're not in alignment, it's like, oh my God. And you start, and that's where the self-sabotage cycle goes in. You're judging yourself, you're doing things prematurely, you're forcing things, seeking validation, or you're confused, you're escaping, you're scrolling your phone, or whatever it is. And so when you're releasing emotions, When you're releasing emotions, you're freeing yourself from, what hurts you, right? You're freeing yourself from what hurts you, and you're shining light on the darkness. And whenever you release a program, what happens is, because look, when Michelangelo sculpted the statue of David, okay, David was already there. It said, how do you sculpt the statue of David? He chipped away everything that wasn't David. Okay, he's chipped away everything that wasn't David. And so Release Emotions is chipping away all the programs that are not you, because there's you that's already in there, right? You're already in there. The real you from the Animus is on the inside, and you have programs that are on you from this life, right? You have programs, you have beliefs, you have traumas, relationship trauma, money trauma, health trauma, obesity, or being skinny, people judging you for this, people judging you for that, right? You have all these energies on you, emotions on you. And so you're releasing what's not you. You're chipping away all the things that are not you to make room for the real you to come into play, right? And things can get hard. It can get hard at times, when you have a lot of attention on you, you have a lot of expectations on you to be a certain way, whether it's your family, whether it's your coworkers, whether it's your team, whether it's your business, right? People expect you to be a certain way, right? And sometimes you